So I don't know if you know, but this date, October 11th, as we publish this thing, is very
Okay.
important date in
Sure.
history. On this date in 1975, Saturday Night Live
Oh,
was launched, the first one.
oh my
So
gosh! And there's
thought
a
this
new
was
there's a new Netflix thing, I think.
yeah, I think there's many new Netflix things. But my question to you is, of all the people, the skip members who have ever been on SNL,
Ooh,
who is your favorite?
that is so tough. That is
I didn't
such a.
even, you didn't even know this question was
I
coming.
did not know this question was coming.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go old school. Bill Murray
Okay.
would be probably my top, but Bill Hader is probably second.
No way.
Yeah, Bill Hader, and then maybe Kristen Wiig. Kristen. I mean, there's so many great ones. Kristen Wiig is just amazing.
So
Will
that's
Ferrell. I mean, how do you not count Will
yeah.
Ferrell in there? How do
Well,
you?
you could say Adam Sandler is in
Adam,
there. Eddie
I see Adam
Murphy.
Sandler. No, I would not put Adam Sandler at the top of
No,
that
you
list.
guys have the Thanksgiving song.
Doobie-doobie-doo, you know. That's his only shtick is doobie-doo.
It's not he. Actually, check out his new special on Netflix.
I'm sure
It's a little raunchy.
I'm sure it's average.
It's
yes.
a little raunchy, but you're getting me off the topic. Bill
Okay.
Hader was on my list. Bill Hader.
Okay, yeah, he's
Chris
great.
Farley.
Oh, Farley.
And
of course.
my one that nobody ever picks, Daryl Hammond. Which
Daryl Hammond was he made an amazing.
He played all
Bill
those
Clinton.
roles that nobody wanted.
He did a Bill
And
Clinton
he
that
was
unbelievable.
He was exceptional.
Yeah.
So the one show we'll never be on.
There it is.
I think we're probably too old now.
Live from New York, it's This Old Marketing.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well on This Old Marketing.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Hello, friends. Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. And I'm Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 448 for Friday, October 11th, 2024. And with me, as always, is my pal, my colleague, and the one person in America who actually liked the new Joker movie, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
I actually wanted to see it.
I mean, it's a musical. It's right up your alley. It's a musical, but it's from everything I've heard, it is absolutely a train wreck.
I didn't know that you could get negative Rotten Tomatoes score
exactly
until Deux
exactly
Joker came out. What I heard is that they put over $200 million in production and well over $100 million in marketing. And it comes out with a weekend smash hit of $40 million, which sounds significant, but that's a big fat L.
That's going to be a big L. That's going to be a big fat hashtag fail for sure.
And I'm not blaming Lady Gaga because after watching A Star Is Born, the reboot, the twice done reboot, whatever, I thought she was so good in that role.
Yeah,
maybe you disagree with that, but I thought she was good.
I thought
she has to be amazing in this movie.
Yeah,
because she's Lady Gaga.
Yeah, I absolutely. I think I mean, look, A Star Is Born is not my favorite, story of all time. I mean, I didn't like the original with Judy Garland, and that I didn't like the one. Oh, Chris Christopherson just died. He was in, of course, the one with Barbara Streisand.
Did you go to the one with Judy Garland? Did you go to the movie theater to watch that?
Very well done. Well played, sir. Well played. How are those Browns doing? How are those Browns doing?
Popcorn was 5 cents at the time.
Yeah.
You had to say, you had to say the word.
I did.
Browns.
I went there. Yeah.
I have many. I don't want to go too long because I could take up the whole episode and some people would not like that. Some people probably would.
Most people, let's just be
But
fair.
I have to tell you, people know that we've been season ticket holders to the Browns for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've lived through some horrible seasons. I've lived through an 0-16 season and a 1-32 stretch. Let's just put that out there.
Okay.
1-32 stretch I've lived through. This is the worst. This is the worst that's ever been, because I don't know what the strategy is, and we've sacrificed our future. We can't do anything. So those of you that don't know, we have Deshaun Watson, who's now the second highest paid quarterback to
Yes.
Dak Prescott.
Yes.
But you didn't have to give up 3 first-round picks to get Dak. You're just paying him. We gave up 3 first-round picks, which, if you want to know why the Houston Texans are so good right now, a la Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
They are going to be so much better than us in the next few years because they have all our picks. And we have paid $230 million for a quarterback that is probably the worst quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah. I don't probably. Yeah. I think that's,
they won't take him out.
Yeah.
They won't take him out. It's so bad. And I don't know, like, I can't even watch. I don't even know. They play the Eagles this weekend, and I don't think I can watch it. I'm just waiting, like, put Jameis Winston in, please. Please, please, please. Whatever you wanted from Deshaun, that you saw in Deshaun when he was in Houston, is not there anymore.
No.
He doesn't have it. And you've brought, you and I were talking before the show, and I've mentioned this. I really believe that Deshaun Watson is the necklace that Greg Brady wore in the Brady Bunch, where everybody that wore the necklace, horrible things happened, right? He fell off the surfboard and somebody got injured. And so we are now cursed with that. And that's why Amari Cooper can't catch a ball anymore. And Jerry Jeudy can't catch a ball anymore. And Kevin Stefanski forgot how to coach.
Yeah.
And the whole team can't even line up together anymore. Right. Like, I think we'd get beaten by the Ohio State Buckeyes right now. And I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
This is how bad.
Yeah. Stefanski's face when Watson walked off the field on that 4th down, when he just looked at it and you could just see him, he just gave up on the season right there. He just sort of like shrugged his shoulders and went, all right, this is my life now.
Here's a question for you. So, I mean, Stefanski's a smart guy. He's been a 2-time coach of the year. He knows what he's doing.
A great coach.
So is he keeping him? So he's either being told you have to play him, or he got Deshaun. Deshaun wasn't his choice, and he's just playing him to prove to ownership and to the general manager of the Browns that, hey, this is your guy, and we're going to play him, and we're going to play him all the way to 1-16.
Yeah, observing. I mean, I don't know. I don't know him that well. I don't know him at all. Obviously,
you don't know. Yeah, you don't hang out with him on the weekends.
But I
you don't go to massage parlors and hang out.
Yeah. Oops! Why did you go there? What a weird place for you to go.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Deshaun.
Yeah. No. Oh, I'm talking about Stefanski.
Oh, Stefanski.
What I have observed of his career, let me put it that way, is I would guess the former. I would guess that he is being told to play Deshaun, not that he's making. I don't feel like Stefanski would be petty like that. I think he's trying to make the best of what he's got, and what he's got now is Deshaun on a big contract that has to get, that. I mean, it won't be it. I mean, I think if the point is going to be made, the point has been made, right? I mean, I think you can see the papers clamoring for them to bench Deshaun. So it's like he needs to be benched.
There's a really good
video. For his own good, even for his own good, he needs to be benched.
There's a really good video going on around where it's, I don't know what play against the Washington Commanders, but Deshaun takes it back and he's looking for somebody open. And the guy who's analyzing the play says, okay, this guy's open. Nobody. This guy's open. This guy's open. 5 people were open.
Right.
Wide open.
Right.
And Deshaun scrambled to a 3-yard gain.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what are we gonna do? Anyways, I guess to wrap this conversation up, I'm giving up my season tickets. I can't support this franchise anymore.
Okay.
We're done. We'll support the Guardians, who have a huge game as we record this tonight. Yeah,
Dodgers and the Guardians have big elimination games.
Yep. So we'll go on, or maybe I just won't be into sports anymore.
There you go. Well, there's that.
My life would be better.
There's always that.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I know we want to talk about what you've been doing.
Yeah.
But I have to just say, Pam and I, we went with friends to Iceland last week, and it was one of the greatest vacations ever. And I am now going to work for the Iceland Tourism Bureau And I'm going to tell everyone I
Right.
can that they need to go to Reykjavik and explore that wonderful, wonderful island as much as you can, because I just can't rave about it enough.
It's a bucket
just so
list
good.
item for Elizabeth and I. We have wanted to go for so long and just haven't been able to make it happen yet. So I'm super happy that you had a good time, because it's just such a beautiful place.
We have a friend of ours did a whole itinerary, Kevin.
Ah,
He did
that's the
such a
best way to
fantastic
do it
job.
too. Yeah.
So I have the roadmap that I didn't do any of the work. Somebody else did all the work on. So
No,
if
you just sat in hotel lobbies looking pensive is what you did.
that was yeah. I put a picture on Facebook of me in a it was either a watch commercial picture or a bourbon commercial, or I don't know what it was.
Yeah, you were demure. You were cutesy.
I was demure.
You were.
I was demure. How have you been? I
I've
haven't
been
talked to you in a
well.
while.
I've been well. It's been. I mean, unlike you, I have been working, and
That's
so
true.
it's
That's true. Fair enough.
been lots of client work, and honestly, getting materials prepped. I'm doing more at Content Marketing World this year, which is literally in 2 weeks. And I'm doing
That's
a
right.
workshop. I'm doing my keynote, of course, and prepping for all the meetings, executive forum, all this stuff. So it's been a lot of prep work right now. Right, I'm in sort of heads down prep work, trying to sound smart, trying to figure out some intelligent things to say.
And by the way, I'm wishing you all the best.
Yeah.
As many people know, it's my first Content Marketing World I'm not going to make. I will unfortunately be in the Bahamas at that time, which is, again, I'm working so hard, Robert,
Yeah,
and all
it's
the
tough.
things. I just happen to be in other countries
It's tough.
while I'm doing that. But I wish you all the best. I've heard great things about the event this year.
Yeah,
and,
you've heard some things about the event, have you?
I'm sending positive vibes because I
Yes,
think you're going to do a great job. Of course, you'll have to tell me all the good things that happen. At
Millions
Content Marketing World.
and millions.
It's going to be. I'm very excited for you. So yeah, but I am going to miss seeing all my friends there.
Yeah,
and you'll have to just carry on for me, sir.
Will do.
Yeah.
We'll do my best. We'll absolutely do my best.
Have we had any news? Has there
we
been
have had
any...
some news. We have had some news. But first of all, we just have to say, just thinking of all of you in Florida right now,
Absolutely,
as you're dealing
friends
with
and
this.
family
I mean,
in
certainly
Florida.
there was North Carolina while we were gone. Thinking about all of you in Florida who are dealing with Hurricane Milton and the damage that it's. As I woke up this morning and checked everything, it looks like. I mean, I don't even want to say it because usually you don't even know until a few days after, but it looks like maybe the worst scenarios were avoided, but we'll see what happens. But for all of those who are affected, we're certainly thinking about you and want to just send our very best.
Same thing. I've been checking on some friends and family down there, so wishing them the
like
best.
my sister lives in Tampa. And it's just south of Tampa, right? And so she was right where the eye was.
And she didn't evacuate. She stayed.
She didn't. She stayed at home and basically sent me pictures this morning. And their house is fine. Their street is flooded, so they can't get out. But she said that'll go away within the next couple of days. They've got power, so she said we're doing as fine as we can possibly be. So I was like, all right, great.
There's been horrible things that have been happening in that area, but the only good thing that happened, thankfully, is that the roof blew off a Tropicana field. That's the absolute worst field ever. So hopefully I don't want to say, I don't want to kid about it. Like if that roof blew off and hurt some people or that's terrible. I don't want that. But that field, I think somebody higher up said that field needs to come down, because that's what they used to hit pop-ups, and that's where it hits. Used to hit the wires up there. Okay, is it fair? Is it foul? I don't know what's going on. So anyways, so there is some good that came out of it.
All right, let's move on to. We do have news that happened both while you were away in lovely Iceland being pensive, as well as this week. And we'll start with really what has been the big story over the last couple of weeks, which has been around this new Google NotebookLM trend, and seems to be on everybody's mind, and is certainly filling up everybody's Facebook feed with automated podcasts and notes and all the kinds of things that it's doing. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Then we'll talk about Google and how it is not having a good couple of weeks here. Now new research showing that they're now below 50% in the ad spend market share for the first time in a long time, and how the DOJ could be actually forcing Google to sell off parts of its business. And then we'll talk about a really interesting thing with Meta's glasses, the new sort of fashionable shades that you can get. And somebody put facial recognition into those glasses, and it's now as scary as you think it might be.
Never would have saw that coming, Robert.
No, exactly.
Nobody saw that one coming.
Nah.
No.
Then we'll get to winners and losers. Joe will talk about his winner of Mountain Dew, Do the Do. I'm going to talk about the beef that seems to be going on with WordPress and WP Engine. Fascinating little drama going on there.
Fascinating.
And then we'll get to Rants and Raves, where I'm going to talk about CMI's new B2B market trends research, which has been just released literally yesterday as we record this. And Joe will, I guess, rant a little bit about TikTok.
I'm going to talk a little bit of tick.
A little bit of talk. Your talk will be TikTok. It'll be TikTok talk.
TikTok, a ticket to the, no, that's hip hop. Hip hop,
a tick,
hip
a tick.
the hip hop. Okay.
Can you do the whole thing?
No, that's about it. I mean, I can do parts of it. So I'm not Sandra Bullock. Have you ever seen Sandra Bullock do that? She can do the whole thing.
Yeah. I had a friend who could do the whole thing.
I used to like really like Sandra Bullock. I thought she's an amazing actress. She's beautiful, the whole thing. But then when she did that rap, I'm like, oh my God.
You just fell in love, right? You just fall in love, right?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, it's easy to fall in love with Sandy Bullock. That is for sure.
It's Sandy to you.
Yeah, Sandy, of course. We're on that kind of, she calls me Bobby.
You're on that first name base. Of course she's Sandy.
Yeah. That's right.
All
right, let's get to our first story. First story here is coming courtesy of the Morning Brew, and it is all about Google. The headline being Google AI bots want you to check out their podcast. The headline here is Google is reacting to the unexpected virality of working on new options that can tweak the podcast length, format, voices, and language. Basically, the article opens up by saying Google's AI research assistant NotebookLM, which, by the way, was released in December of last year, is a groundbreaking tool with the power to distill text into realistic-sounding podcast-style explainers and the potential to change how we consume complex information forever. It's also perfect for making podcasts about poop and farts. Marketing Brew always keeping it classy.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like, what the?
Was that necessary? Was it? You could have told the story.
And that writer was very proud of that. I'm sure and because here's the thing, they broke that sentence out on its own. Anyway, the original purpose of NotebookLM released last year was for users to feed it content like Wikipedia articles or research papers, and then ask questions about the material to receive AI-generated text summaries. But in September, which is just about a month ago, Google released an audio overview feature that creates an explainer podcast called Deep Dive. And those AI podcasts have recently gone viral because of the robot's host's ability to sound uncannily human and chat about any topic. And we mean any topic.
Right.
And basically they go on to talk about a few ridiculous things. It harkens back to the early days of ChatGPT when people were doing it, making it do Dr. Seuss, reading presidential documents or that sort of thing. So what say you to NotebookLM? Have you had a chance to look at it? I have myself, but what did you think?
I have. I've been tinkering with it because I'm trying to keep up with some of this AI stuff, Robert.
Sure.
I'm just trying to figure out the technology, what works, what doesn't. So here's what I did, and we can play a little bit so you can get a sound for it. I just took I wrote an article a couple months ago about Gene Wilder's documentary. I think we talked about it a little bit on the show about him dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia and the whole thing. And I wrote an article, and all I did was, now with NotebookLM, you can take all sorts of documentation. You can just add PDFs to it. So you could add 5 or 10 or whatever kinds of information you want to, and they will take all that information and create the podcast out of it. But I just gave it one article.
Yep.
So I gave it the one article, and so it took about 2 minutes. And just listen to maybe 10 seconds of this. Here you go.
I often think of legends like Gene Wilder as larger than life.
Yeah.
Right? Like eternally dispensing Wonka bars and electrifying laboratory equipment.
Oh, absolutely.
But remembering Gene Wilder, that documentary that you shared, it reveals a different side to his story. You know, one that hits close to home for a lot of us, I think. It's a story about...
Anyways, you get the feel.
I do. I get the point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So It's pretty. Look, first of all, it's pretty amazing, and it's also incredibly terrifying with a side of cringe. And I don't know where
That's a
I'm
good way
at
to
on
put
it.
it, actually.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, the fact that that could be done, and I listened to the whole thing. It created my my article was, if you read my article as an audio version, it was 3.5 minutes long. That article.
right.
They created a 7.5 minute podcast, and what was amazing to me is they, like, that whole thing about the Wonka bars and the I didn't add that. They added that, so they went out and got secondary information based on what's in the art, which is also a bit scary,
Right.
and added their own context to it, which was really fascinating. So again, this is version 1.1 of this thing. Where are we going to be at in a very short period of time? We already know that one of our friends, I sent you the link of the creator that created the
Oh yeah, it's
their own podcast on it. Maybe you can figure that one out. But
yeah.
But there are people that are creating podcasts that haven't been doing their podcasts. Like, oh, okay, good. Now I can just throw all this information. I can throw my entire newsletter into NotebookLM, and it will create a podcast from it. And it's pretty amazing if people want. And again, if you look at the history of NotebookLM, it was created, and you bring this up a little bit. It was created not for a podcast. It was created so you could take an article or Wikipedia and somebody could distill that really quickly in audio form. And you could, if you wanted to learn via audio versus reading something, this was the way that it was done. And now it's so realistic. It's created this opportunity for podcasts.
Yeah, Jim Louderback, by the way.
Jim Louderback, yeah. Jim has a great newsletter on the creator economy, and he just started to use NotebookLM for his podcast. So
yeah, Ailey Judge has done the same thing. Ailey Judge has created an automated podcast based on this, and where he curates news items and then creates this automated podcast thing every week now.
But you're not high on this. You don't.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. I think you described it well, which is the incredibly impressive, kind of scary, and a side order of cringe, right? Which is when I took a deep dive over the last week and a half into this and had it do all sorts of things. And one of the things that I found, and this is basically true of all basically generative AI at this point, was that it was scarily good at finding the patterns and giving me a summary, which of course was its original intent, right? So this is not a critique at all, because the original intent of this application was to provide summaries, right? That's the whole NotebookLM's original mission, was to provide a summary of text. Right. So you upload an annual report, and it basically summarizes it for you in a paragraph and pulls it out. So as an example, I put in the new B2B research from Content Marketing Institute, but I purposely omitted any of the analysis, right? I just put in the research.
Okay.
And so I put in the research, and I wanted to see what came out the other side. And what came out the other side was a great summary, basically a bullet pointed list of all the charts and graphs, right? So if you want to consume that research in, 4.5 minutes rather than, the 25 that it would take you to read the whole report, great. But interestingly, and I don't know if this is a new thing or not, because obviously I haven't been using it for a year, but it couldn't resist but to give me the action steps and insights, right? So it gave me action steps and insights coming out of it, and they were banal at best. I mean, they were just, it was literally if you had uploaded a recipe for cake and it gave you the action steps, it would say, make sure your oven works. Make sure that you use chocolate. And when you're making chocolate cake, I mean, it's like the most banal and sort of obvious recommendations. It was stuff like, hey, you should have a strategy before you start content marketing. Hey, you should hire quality people. It's like, so.
But you don't know how good those are, Robert. You know how many people have a strategy for their content marketing?
Right. That is,
it's
well,
like,
that
yeah,
is
get
true.
a strategy. Okay.
But get it. But get a strategy is not an insight, right? Get a strategy is sort of like now, and the analysis that I use, the sort of analogy that I put on it was, to me, it reminds me very much of a 21st century Cliffs Notes, right? So when you read Cliffs Notes as a kid, you got the summary of Romeo and Juliet. You got the, the summary of War and Peace or whatever. But you missed, and so you could pass the test, right? You might be able to pass the test with that, but you didn't get any of the enriching sort of really the great experience of actually reading the work. And what I find is that these kinds of solutions, and it's not just NotebookLM, but it's also when you ask ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or anything to do a summary of something, what you get is sort of the things that when you see those words strung together are quite impressive, but there's no real insight there. It's just pattern recognition. It's just like, here's what happened. Here's what's in the document. And to prove that, and this gets to your point about bringing up the Wonka bars and that sort of thing, I gave NotebookLM Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken. And I said, tell me what this poem means. And it basically gave me the summary of the poem, but it then did what everybody else does when you read, very much conventional wisdom, going out to the internet and the hundreds of graduation speeches and the, different television commercials, which is always like taking the road less traveled as, a way to create a unique and, valuable life. Basically, that's the lesson most people take, unless you've actually read the poem multiple times, which you then realize that's not what that poem is about at all. The poem doesn't say any of that, actually. In fact, the funny thing is, the title is The Road Not Taken, not the road that I took, which was the less traveled one. The title of the poem is The Road That I Didn't Take, which is the one that everybody takes. And at the end of the road, basically at the end of the poem, the author basically says, hey, listen, I'm not happy about the choice I made. He's like, I'm going to be doing this with a big, heavy sigh, because the whole point of this is it doesn't matter which road you take, the one less traveled or the one more traveled. It's up to you to make it have meaning in your life. And that's but you only get that if you actually read the poem, not just the notes or the summary. My fear is that many marketers will use this kind of technology to provide these summaries of very meaningful things and lose the ability to have that critical thinking or to have that ability to really have that experience, because they won't read the original work. They'll use this as a hack or a shortcut to find the thing, to pass the test, to do the thing, and we'll all be dumber for the result of it.
Well, so great point. I guess the question is, what about this as a content creation tool specifically?
No,
to do
I don't
exactly
think so.
what Ailey Judge is doing and Jim Lauterbach is doing.
I think it's a very short-term hack at best. Because if the only differentiating value you provide is the information that you curate into it, why do I need you to do that? Like, it reminds me of Flipboard, right? Remember when Flipboard was going to be a thing where you could subscribe to people's sort of curated news and it'll create a magazine automatically for you, and it would create this awesome magazine based on the news that you curated, and nobody wanted that. They were just like, I'm just going to use it for my own stuff. I'm going to use Flipboard I'm going to curate my own feed and create my own magazine.
Yes and no. I mean, it's like, have you seen any of Justine Bateman's speeches when she's going around talking about generative AI? I don't know if you've caught any of this stuff, but she uses the blender analogy. She said, whatever you put in, if you're making a milkshake, whatever goes into the blender is what it's going to make that milkshake and chop that up. So, if it's not in there, it's not going to be in the mix. It's just going to make the mix of it. So let's say for Jim Lauterbach's, Jim is taking all the content that Jim has put together curated as a human being, and put that into a output podcast. If it only uses what Jim puts in, it could be valuable depending on, right?
No, I don't know. No. I don't not know. I mean,
you don't want that milkshake.
So Google's betting that I'm wrong, right? Google's making a bet that I'm wrong because they're adding new voices. They're adding, capabilities in this score, because I think this was an unexpected sort of viral moment for this thing. But long-term, I just don't see, I mean, as a personal productivity tool, in other words, it's something that I would use.
Their original intent.
The original intent. If I upload the CEO's analyst report, right, for a public company, which can be long and boring and basically, and if I'm trying to find what are really the key sort of summary points that they made in their analyst report. It's a perfect tool for that. It's an amazing tool for that. Incredibly impressive. And if I want to listen to that rather than read it, this is a great way to do that, because it basically provides me that auditory or audible sort of thing I can listen to on a commute or as I'm on the treadmill.
Yeah, if you're in the car on the train or whatever, and it can just keep.
So as a personal productivity tool, I love this thing.
Hundreds of pages of reports that you can get that information from.
But I would actually then go back and read the original report to make sure to get, at some point, right? So that I get the learning. This is going to be the topic of my keynote at Content Marketing World this year. It's going to be what I'm calling valuable friction. There is value in actually for us as the human experience. There is value in the friction of actually reading the work, of actually consuming the long form of the content, and not just getting the summary, because we get the wisdom and the emotion and the empathy out of the actual original work. And we're going to see things that honestly that the AI doesn't.
No, I love that part. When I did a speech a few weeks ago, I talked about building a persona, and that you could create a thread of your persona and fill it with all the things you needed to, and then talk to that persona all the time. Just ask questions, whatever. And that's Andy Crestodina basically shows how you can do that. But I did say, this might not be right. But you might be skipping certain stages that are necessary for you to get to the information you need to get to your point, the friction. That's what scares me.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to skip to it. Real quick. There's do you listen to Stephen Bartlett at all? A Diary of a CEO.
Oh, I know it. I don't listen to it regularly. No.
So I when he had Jimmy Carr on recently, talked about him last.
Yeah, Jimmy Carr is fantastic.
Yeah. So I love some of the people that he interviews, but he uses AI in real time, where he will come up and I didn't know he did this, but he was on his most recent, and he's like, okay, he's figuring out questions to ask back to an expert in biology. But he says right up, it says, this might not be right because I'm using AI. But I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, so we're not at that point yet or maybe we won't be for a long, long time, where we know this is 100% correct. And there you go. And it's, even with the Wonka thing, like it inserted the Wonka stuff, but that may or may not be correct. We do not know. So,
but here's the thing. Even if it is correct, which I happen to believe, our friend Paul Reitzer, and we have said this many times, have been like, this is the worst version of AI that you'll ever use, right? This is the most basic that you'll ever use. And so, yes, it'll get better and better and better and better. Even if it does get better, and that's actually part of the problem, is that it will get better. The fact is that at some point it will cross a threshold where we do trust it, where it becomes like it gives us the good, right answer. That doesn't help the human experience. It doesn't help me as a human have the experience of actually reading the work, doing the work, actually having, doing the research and making those mental gymnastics in my head. If I continually use AI as a crutch, it may get me to a destination faster, but I won't be better for it. And that's my fear, is that very much like what happened with social media. Social media was an amazing thing. I don't know that we're better off for social media actually, 20 years into this experiment.
Oh, I know the answer to that one.
Yeah. So no. I don't know that we're going to be better. So that the villain that often gets painted with AI is that, we're in this, situation where it could be Skynet. It's going to be the world's going to get taken over, and it's going to launch, paperclip machines that are going to eat humans for breakfast and all that kind of stuff. But the actual villain may actually be we turn into the people from Up, right? Where we're just sitting in front of terminals all day, letting AI do all the critical thinking for us.
Talking about Wall-E?
I'm sorry, not Up. Right, you're Wall-E. Sorry, I got. You
could use Up. You could be like we were.
No. It's Wall-E
carrying the house.
Yeah. Wall-E is better.
But good thing I know my Pixar.
Anyway,
don't you?
Yeah. End of rant. End of fun thing. But the tool is awesome, and it's very interesting, and it's totally fun to have them do.
Go practice. Yeah, my recommendation is
go practice. Yeah, go play.
Don't create like real usable, but practice with it so you can see for yourself.
Again, as a personal productivity tool, I love it. Helping me, get to a summary quicker. is fantastic. So I can go read the target article or the target thing with that in mind, right?
Yeah.
Sort of the spoiler alerts in mind. Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, that's fantastic. So yeah, speaking of spoiler alerts, we should probably, I don't know why this is a segue. This is not a right segue, but
we don't have, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
Just open the wallet. Let's pay some bills. Yeah.
Nobody's listening.
Yeah.
Nobody,
true.
Everybody already cut off.
True.
As soon as I was talking about the Browns, they're done.
With smaller budgets and sky-high expectations, growth, well, it's feeling pretty painful right about now. But HubSpot just announced more than 200 major product updates to make the impossible growth feel impossibly easy. Like Breeze, a suite of new AI-powered tools that help you say goodbye to busy work and hello to better work. Breeze Intelligence to give you the richest, most comprehensive picture of your prospects and customers, and reimagined marketing and content hubs to attract and convert more leads and send your revenue soaring. Visit HubSpot.com/spotlight to learn more. You want to follow the hot new podcast? Let me give you the hottest one I know. It's Entrepreneurs on Fire, hosted by John Lee Dumas, and it's available now on the HubSpot Podcast Network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life you've always dreamed of. This podcast is for anybody who wants to learn about entrepreneurship. If you like fast-paced and packed with value stories, this show is for you. Entrepreneurs love this show because John raves about successful entrepreneurs, from failures to aha moments to what is working for them currently. You can find Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you follow your favorite podcasts.
A lot of people don't know this about Entrepreneurs on Fire, which is not a really new podcast. I mean, it's been around for a decade.
Yeah.
But if you want to see how a podcast makes money, he has his monthly revenue and expenses report. He does it. He's been doing it for a long, long time. You can click on the right-hand corner of that page and you can see, like, here's how John makes money. Here's what the expenses, and like, it is very, very enlightening if you want to figure out how to make money with your podcast.
He's an amazing guy. He's an amazing guy.
Lives in Puerto Rico at the time and is loving it. So hopefully he's staying safe from all the crazy weather patterns down there too.
Yeah, so, that's true. That's absolutely true.
We don't have anything in Ohio. It's like you're gonna fall out with you got whatever you got going on in Los Angeles.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody keeps saying that, and it's it's like
you're still around.
I'll take the occasional earthquake every 10 years or so for every summer hurricane, right? And tornadoes that seem to be plaguing the East Coast. It's like all my East Coast friends call and they go, "Oh, I wouldn't live in California because it's so earthquake prone." I'm like, yeah, every couple of years we get a shaker. That's fine.
I think with the change in weather patterns, you'd have to say that Florida and that area is a tougher place to go because
I'm going to resist. I'm going to resist the joke that's right there. Yeah, I'm going to resist the joke that's right there.
Well, Florida. You hate Florida.
Yeah, I do.
You hate like when you say that you're flying into Orlando, like I don't even want to talk to you because you're already upset.
That's right. It's correct.
Whoever scheduled this event in Orlando, I don't like Orlando. The Rose doesn't go to Orlando.
I love how I became another character there. That's really good.
The Rose. I like that. I'm going to call you the Rose.
If I talk about myself in the third person there, yeah.
The Rose. I'll be your marketing Rose.
Pete Rose just died.
Oh, Pete Rose. By the way, Hall of Fame or not, Pete Rose, go.
Hall of Fame, yes, 100%.
I listened to an interview with Bob Costas, and I thought he had the right way to go so you can get around. Because, of course, if you gamble on the game while you're banned for life.
Yeah,
it's in the rules. It's been in the rules for 40 years.
Yeah.
But I think that he should put him in the Hall of Fame or let him vote, and then just say at the bottom of the plaque, banned from baseball in 1991 or whatever it was. It's like, but he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame as a player.
100%.
But he's never been allowed back into working around Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
of course, never will be now.
Yeah,
but I think he deserves it as well.
I did too, and he definitely thought he deserved it.
Oh, of course.
There was no bigger fan of Pete Rose than Pete Rose. That's for sure.
No, there wasn't. By the way, the book Charlie Hustle.
Yeah.
It just came out like 6 months ago. Fantastic book. I highly recommend it if you want to know about the life of Pete Rose.
Yeah.
So Really good book.
All
But
right.
you have to read it. You can't feed it in the Notebook LM.
This is my point. This is my point.
You have to go through the friction of reading the book. Somebody told me that.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
He's eating the pets of the people that live there. That's so okay. What do we got next?
All right, we got next story is coming courtesy of the Wall Street Journal, of all places. Apologies. This story is the right story to link to, even though you need to be a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal to be able to read it. The headline here is Google's grip on search slips as TikTok and AI start to mount challenge. Now, we're going to pair this with another story that you don't actually have to be a subscriber to get to, which is about the DOJ. But we'll just cover this briefly because it's a nice combo package here to talk about what's going on with Google. The Wall Street Journal opens up by saying Google's grip on the nearly $300 billion search advertising business is loosening. For years, the tech giant has seemed invincible on this corner of the ad market, which is the foundation of its business. Now, rivals are beginning to eat into its lead, and new offerings fueled by the rise of AI and social video threaten to reshape the landscape. TikTok, the wildly popular short-form video platform, has recently started allowing brands to target ads based on user search queries, a direct challenge to Google's core business. Perplexity is starting to introduce ads later this month under its AI-generated answers. Until now, it has made revenue mostly from a $20 a month subscription, but it'll start monetizing search. And new initiatives to add pressure from Google include the rise of Amazon and product search and other vertical searches that the Wall Street Journal doesn't cover here. Basically, the punchline here is that Google is now below 50% of the ad market, the search ad market sort of space for the first time ever. And so, well, I mean, ever meaning going all the way back to, the early, maybe 10 years ago. So combine that with the other story here that we have, which is courtesy of fastcompany.com, where we actually have Google could be forced to sell part of its business if the DOJ gets its way. Sort of the trial going on with Google right now is underway. And the article says here, in a late court filing on Tuesday, that's Tuesday of this week, federal prosecutors also said the judge should ask the court to open the underlying data Google uses to power its ubiquitous search engine. And basically, the brief comes to say it probably should be broken up into the different kinds of businesses. And so I think this spells trouble for Google on the horizon. What do you think?
This is a tough one because I generally don't believe in breaking up companies. But if you're going to break up Google, then you need to look at Microsoft again, and you need to look at Apple. And you need to look at all the big companies who have way too much influence, because this is 10 years too late. I mean, if you look at that
20 years too late, really 20 years too late.
Probably.
Yeah.
The chain, we talked about this, I don't know, a couple months ago, where we really went deep into the fact that Google's core revenue of search is in big jeopardy because you have so many people going other places for search, specifically for the AI and TikTok.
Yeah.
And by the way, if any resolution happens for TikTok where people don't think it's going to be banned, or whenever that happens, you're going to see a pile of money leave Google and go into TikTok. Because I think that's the only thing stopping more money from coming in, because advertisers just don't know, like, what's going to happen? Is it going to be there? Whatever. As soon as there's some resolution to that. So I just think that Google was the easiest one to pick on at this point. But at some point, you're going to have to look at, if this happens and they do break it up, which, by the way, is generally good for shareholders. If you look at breakups and how they've had
over time.
Over time, it's generally good. But you then have to say, all right, you can't just stop at Google. You have to go to Amazon. You have to go to Microsoft. You have to go to these other companies that are over $2 trillion or whatever all these companies are in market cap, because they're too big. They have too much influence, and they're inhibiting competition from a lot of different places. If this goes through. That's my take.
Yeah. I the only question I come up with is, how do you break it up? Like what are the parts, right? So the obvious one is, okay, you separate out the marketplace from the search, the search ads, right? In other words, you break out because that's always been the critique, is that Google has on both sides, it's got the network that you can place ads into. And then it's also got the, the ability to provide the search related ads themselves as a technology across all the different websites and across different properties, right? So it can place those ads on different properties as well as it can, provide it for itself, and it has its own network. So that's the obvious one to me to break apart. But then that starts to get really weird. Like, okay, well, you can buy the ad through Google, but you can't place it on anybody else's third-party website. That seems like it would, there would be competitors to come in and eat that space up for sure. But like, it seems like it would be a very weird thing. And then the other way, I mean, Google's just not going to do that. It's not going to give up its ability to get direct ad revenue on its own, on its own property called Google.com, right? It's just, that's the number one cash cow right now. So it ain't giving that part up, So
no,
it's just hard to know how you would break it up in a sort of meaningful way that would be, I mean, because they're 20 years late, there's really no viable competition for that.
Well, you could take out Google Plus. That would always that would always be the kicker. No, I think there's already been a playbook for this. It was when Microsoft went through the antitrust.
Yeah, agree.
And you know what solves
That's what's going to happen here. Yeah,
a big load of money.
Yeah,
a big barrel full of money is going to come, and it's going to reach certain people. And lo and behold, they'll have to pay some penalties, and they'll probably have to open up some of their data. They'll have to say that Chrome can do this and that, Android has to do this and that, whatever the case is, and then it'll all go away.
I think you're right, and it could very, very much resemble what happened because people forget that what happened with Microsoft wasn't that they broke up the company, but what they ended up doing was basically Microsoft said, okay, we'll open up our system. In other words, you can connect in to the OS with your browser, basically, and in those days it was Netscape and others that wanted access to have the web browser within basically you could change the default, in other words. And so that was really their answer to this, was to say, okay, we'll open up our APIs, and now you can put in third-party software that can replace our browser, and therefore we will comply, right? And everybody went, yep, that's the game. And then it was like, but here's the thing, they could still offer a browser, and they could go, well, you can do that with Netscape, but maybe you want a better experience with Microsoft Explorer. And Microsoft Explorer, for a short time anyway, was the number one browser out there until Google Chrome came along. Same thing could happen here, where the Google could just say, well, we'll open up our ad network. We'll open it up so that you can we'll introduce competition into our ad network so that you can actually, we'll have to compete in the marketplace just like, everybody else will. And it'll be sort of like, well, you can, but, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And then look at Amazon. It's like, oh my God, when I search for a product on Amazon, what comes up first? Amazon's products. Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
That's right. Yeah, that's
I didn't
right.
know that was a thing. It's amazing.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's a different issue. The sort of fragmentation of search, generally speaking, being accelerated with AI that's a whole other problem, right? Which is, for all of these companies, that, it will be a very interesting use case to find, which is, for users that want the answer. They just want, it goes back to our discussion about, generative AI generally, and trust, which is, if I just want, okay, just tell me the product I should buy, basically, and boy, is that going to be a hot market.
It's just so funny that they picked this moment in time to do this, because you could make a case that Google's business model is more in jeopardy now than it ever has been in the past 5 to 10 years. Because of all the additional competition. So it's hard to say that they're constricting competition when we've covered it many times that, hey, Google search business, you should be concerned.
Yeah.
We should all be concerned.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly
But we
right.
don't know anything.
We don't know.
We know
I mean, we're just a couple of chuckleheads
Right.
talking about stuff.
Well, I don't
All right,
know
very
why we
quickly
just-
here, very quickly, because I do want to get to winners and losers in our rants and raves, but let's just cover this very quickly here, which is that Meta has put in Meta didn't, but Meta's new glasses, a group of researchers put facial recognition into those glasses, and it caused some really interesting, scary times of things.
I'm shocked.
This coming from 404 Media, which, by the way, is quite quickly
You're
making a
liking
name
this.
for-
You've been sending me some
Yeah.
articles from them.
Yeah,
You're liking
they're making a
404.
name for themselves here.
Yeah.
Basically, the article opens up by saying a pair of students at Harvard have built what big tech companies refuse to release publicly due to the overwhelming risks and danger involved: smart glasses with facial recognition technology that automatically looks up someone's face and identifies them. The students have gone a step further. Their customized glasses also pull other information about their subject from around the web, including their home address, phone number, and family members. Wow. The project is designed to raise awareness that what is possible through this technology, and the pair are not releasing their code. Basically, the experiment, tested in some cases on unsuspecting people in the real world, according to a demo video, shows the razor-thin line between a world which people can move around with relative anonymity to one where your identity and personal information can be pulled up instant by strangers. And basically, one of the videos is fascinating. They actually go up to somebody like they know them, right? And they're like, "Oh, how's the kids? You know, how are you doing here?" But and they don't obviously don't know the person, but they've been able to pull up enough information to con it. And it's wow, that is an amazing development. And it's just so. Any thoughts on this?
My thoughts is I think my kids had it right and have it right when they have not put any pictures of themselves or any information at all. They have aliases for social media because they saw this coming. So good for them. Unfortunately, you and I are screwed because everybody can find out anything about us.
Well, it gets harder if you live your life in public. I mean, that is,
yeah.
You know, anybody who lives their life a little bit in public, that's what they did. What they're doing is an impossibility if you live your life in public. You just,
but that's a good portion of the population.
Yeah,
I think this is. I guess I don't know if I have a marketing take on this, but I have a take where this is absolutely going to happen, and it's already possible. Whether it's glasses or it's a camera somewhere else on the person, or your phone or whatever, we're getting to that point where it's going to be hard to stop this.
Well, there's a total marketing take here, which is imagine these glasses at a conference, right, where you're in a trade show booth. And you have these glasses on and people are walking by, and basically it does either account-based marketing and or, identification of people and their first party data to identify which ones are buyers and which ones are not buyers and which ones are competitors and which ones are, I mean, there's some amazing intelligence that could be bought with this capability. Yeah.
That's kind of scary. Again, this is the scary episode.
So all right, let's get to our winners and losers here, where we pick a loser from the last week in marketing or a winner from the last week in marketing, and we make them feel good about themselves or scary about themselves. You want to go first with your Mountain Dew, since it's a non-scary story?
This is a real quick story. I'll bring up the article here. This is from Marketing Dive, your friends over at Marketing Dive. Why Mountain Dew refreshed its visual identity for a new era of marketing. First of all, I generally do not like it when people do a brand refresh, because it usually means there's a new CMO, right? Like if there's a new brand refresh, what's the first thing that tells you? Oh, new CMO.
They got a new CMO, right?
That's the first thing you do. Yeah. But I have to say,
second thing you do is redesign the website, by the way. But there you go.
Exactly. That's coming up. But what I do like about this, if in the article kind of goes through it, I didn't realize that the Mountain Dew brand experience, if you will, and logo had not included any mountains. So they corrected that. They're now playing on the whole mountain theme. My point about this is they felt that the Mountain Dew as a drink was getting lost in the other energy drinks, which I think you could probably make a case.
Sure, 100%. Well, that's the biggest threat right now is the energy drink.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're like, how do we get outside of that energy drink conversation so we're not another energy drink, or we're something different? Yeah. And what I liked about that, Robert, is the fact that they see it, they're trying to address it. I don't know if this is the right move or not, but they're trying to address this by coming outside of it. It's not just a caffeine hit. it's something more. It's probably something more what Red Bull's trying to do with Gives You Wings. I don't know. But I do like the fact that they're trying to do something different, because I would agree with them. I think they have gotten lost in this conversation about energy drinks, and they're just trying to rectify it. And we tried to do the same thing with our content marketing, right? It's like, what's our differentiation area? How do we create a mission statement around that? It is differentiated. Mountain Dew's going through this right now. Yeah. We'll see if this is going to work or not, but I think they're on their way to figuring out something.
This is going to play into what I'm going to talk about in my commentary here in a bit. But I think the winner part of what you're talking about is that they're doing something about it.
They're doing something. They realize it. They've talked to enough people. They've talked to their fans. They're trying set up the listening posts. Yep. They're trying something.
They're not just letting status quo live and sort of say, well, it's sort of where we are right now.
It's interesting though. They went to this abbreviated, like it was MTN Do.
Yeah.
There's a real minimalistic, and now they're going to the big Mountain Dew with the. So it's just
there's a whole. We should probably link this in the show notes if I can find it. But there was a wonderful article that talked about the what's called blanding, which is a really interesting thing that's going on now with sort of rebranding and logos. Sort of a trend where you go back to the very basic, simplest. Not trying to be super clever with it, right? You just, it is what it is. It's like, boom, and the one that they used was a PayPal, right? The new PayPal logo, which is moved from that sort of weird little shady character thing before PayPal. And it's basically just PayPal in a font, right? That's the new logo, right? So that's the idea.
Anyway. It's interesting. Yeah. Let's see how these trends go.
All right.
What do you got?
My loser this week is the WordPress.org, or probably more specific, Automatic, which is has Matt Mullenweg, who's the originator of WordPress, and they have a bunch of software open source that they provide and all of that. And there's a beef right now. So any of you who have WordPress websites probably are a little bit aware of this, or maybe you're not, but there is a big beef going on between WP Engine, which is a WordPress hosting, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, WordPress hosting providers that are out there, and WordPress.org, or Automatic, which owns WordPress.org. And basically, they have WordPress.org has, like, if you have any association with WP Engine, you literally can't log into WordPress.org anymore. They've made it sort of there's like you have to click, right? Do you have any financial or anything relationship with WP Engine? And if you do, they're not even letting you in. I mean, because they are beefing right now between each other.
Wow.
And that's
crazy.
It seems to be in the article that, again, from 404 Media that we'll link to, which sort of gives you the sort of current status of things, is the beef seems to be over money, right? About, they think WP Engine is using WordPress trademarks for free, basically, without having to pay for them. They don't think that WP Engine is supporting the open source community appropriately enough. And WP Engine is like, go pound sand, right? This is what we're in business to make money, and this is what we do, and we're doing it very well. So thank you very much, and go away, right? It'll be interesting to see who ultimately comes out on top here. I think the loser here is Automatic and WordPress.org, because it's coming across, whether it is or not, I don't care, right? In other words, whether WP Engine deserves this or not, nobody cares. What's coming across is that Automatic is being, petty, and it's a money grab, and they're having problems with retention and all sorts of things. And it's not good for anybody for this to be coming out. And a bunch of the WordPress sort of thought leaders and thought leaders in the open source space have come out and said, yeah, they're on the wrong side of history here. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But honestly, I think this is a bad move by Automatic for the long term. Maybe they'll get a short-term cash hit from this because they can settle for something, but this is not good for the brand going forward.
Who used to sing that song? Automatic.
Oh my God,
the world is on your shoulders.
Yeah.
It's got you going crazy. What is that? Come on, AI, throw it out. Somebody, NotebookLM. What is it?
Yeah,
Anyways,
there it is. There it is.
that's what I was.
All right, let's very
I was
quickly get to
thinking
our
that
rants
the
and
whole
raves
time.
here, which Joe and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave over something that makes us feel like we just saw the new Joker movie, or something that makes us feel like we're
Poor Joker.
Oh, God, bad movie.
Joker.
All right. Would you like to go first with your TikTok?
I'll do
talk?
my real quick tick to the talk. So this is an article 2 days ago from CNN. TikTok sued by 14 attorneys generals over alleged harm to children's mental health. And I want my commentary on this, Robert, is I want more of this. I want as much as possible, not just TikTok. I want Instagram. I really feel like I want to see what I want to see. I want to see what happened in the early 90s with smoking. And there was just this crusade to try to get people off smoking as much as possible with the Surgeon General stuff and the ostracization and the whole thing. And now, if you smoking has been significantly cut in the United States, and you see less cases of lung cancer. I think a lot of cases because of what happened in the 90s and on. I think we're at a very pivotal time with something that might even be worse for the mental health of children. We're seeing cases of severe depression, suicides. There's enough data in that I've seen that this is a huge problem, one of the big problems of our time. And I don't care what has to happen. I want something done. And I think the U.S. government has to get involved in here. If this is the start of it, then great. I want to see more of it. But they're picking on TikTok right now. It's not just TikTok. It's all of them. It's Snapchat. It's Instagram. It's everyone that keeps them locked in to this kind of content and addicted to this kind of content. And it's got I don't know what to do about it. I don't know if this is a solution, but this is a solution. Kind of like Mountain Dew, right? This is a solution. Good. Let's see where this one goes, because nothing else is working, because we're just letting them run free and do whatever they need to do. And
I think we're going to see, I think we're going to see a lot more of that after November 5th. I think we're going to start to see that dam break free a little bit. I mean, let's just be honest, assuming the election goes the way that it seems to be going. But I think we're going to start to see that become more of a focus, right? Because it's just becoming a bigger, everything that's happened over the last 2 weeks across social media and misinformation and disinformation and things that are happening that are just literally hurting people with bad information that is spread virally through social media is just begging for this, right? And it's just gotten to the point of ridiculousness. When you've got political leaders using social media to forward things like the government controls the weather, is like, man, we've lost our way when it comes to what's right.
I have no more. You said very well. Something has to be done. But specifically, you brought a case up with seemingly adults were involved. I'd like to start with the kids. Under 18 population.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, the kids are who are affected by what, the adults are no better at this than the kids are. In fact, in many ways, the kids are way better than the adults in terms of how to use these tools. There was a new poll that came out. I think it was research that came out last week or this week that said most of Gen Z, it was a really weird number, like 60 or 70% of Gen Z kids wish like TikTok and Facebook and Instagram
weren't around.
Yeah, didn't exist, right?
Yeah. And I think there are adults out there that probably can agree with that as well. I'd be like, boy, what? I spend 2-3 hours, 4 hours, 5. I know some people that spend 6 or 7 hours a day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Going down the rabbit hole of this content, and it is very easy to get trapped by it.
It is. So it is.
All right.
What do you got? Very quickly here. This was sort of my take on the new content market. So Content Marketing Institute, of course, every year does the benchmark of, originated by you and me back in the day. Sort of the research of the benchmarks and trends and content marketing. This is now the 15th year or something like that. It's crazy how time flies. But anyway, this year, the research literally came out on Wednesday. So go check it out. But to me, and I sort of ranted a little bit on LinkedIn on this, and it seems to be getting a little traction on LinkedIn. So I thought I'd rant about it here as well, which is basically what I found so remarkable about the research results this year is how unremarkable they are. And it seems like for the last 4 years, it's just rinse and repeat of what we're seeing in B2B marketing. And it aligns very well with what I'm seeing with clients, sort of generally speaking, which is so many of B2B marketing teams these days were trapped in this sort of endless cycle of either fixing things or maintaining things. In other words, they're so busy sort of getting phase 2 of the CMS implemented, getting phase X of the marketing automation that just never quite worked the way it's supposed to work, getting it working again, figuring out where the first party data is in silos and trying to work with cross-functional teams to fix access to that data, fix the analytics because we don't trust the analytics because the data sources are wrong, trying to figure out, that next piece of content and checking a box that we actually published a blog post because we need 14 blog posts this month and we've gotten 2. We're just in this sort of, and so nothing new is getting created. And if something new does get created, and by some sort of magic, the team goes, all right, well, we'll try. And then it doesn't get promoted. It doesn't get, so nobody's swinging for the fences anymore. Nobody's doing interesting changes or interesting innovations, except sort of looking at AI, experimenting with AI. But even that's just a maintenance thing. Even that's just sort of like where can AI help us be more efficient and help us do more things? So there's no innovation or creativity or real, just sort of new things getting done. And so thus you end up with what we see where half, like for the last 4 years, half of marketers feel like their content marketing isn't working very well. And half, they feel okay about it, but nobody feels great about it. Half of people are really struggling with, creating the right content. They're leaning on AI to create the content that is just average in nature. So all we're doing in B2B marketing so much these days is just checking the boxes. And we have really lost much of the joy and the happiness and the real craziness and the weirdness that great marketing should and could bring to our business. And I just lament it, quite honestly, because what the research shows this year are that we've gotten so wrapped up in being maintainers of the status quo that no one is interested in sort of taking a shot at the fences. And I just think that's a boring way to go about our business. It's a boring way to get to marketing. It is unexciting. And I just think it's time. And hopefully this is a poke in the chest for B2B marketing to, do something about it. And that's why I was sort of connecting it back to your Mountain Dew. It's like, let's do something about it. Let's
do something.
Let's get better at this.
Maybe there's an opportunity here because of your point. There's just not a lot being done. And I think that that's why you talk to a lot of marketers. I talk to a lot of marketers. I don't see this. If you rated the satisfaction score in marketing right now, it wouldn't be very high.
It's low. It's 100% low.
So what do you got to do something, make it. I think that's why you also saw a lot of people leaving marketing for, hey, I can do my own thing because I'm not satisfied in this role anymore. I'm not being able to.
That's right.
To use.
We're losing really great people. We're losing really great people to, which, by the way, kudos to them for jettisoning out, pulling the ripcord, as it were, jettisoning out of the airplane to go try and take a shot at their own, creativity. So kudos to them. But companies are losing out because what we're getting is just more and more and more status quo. So hopefully it's a poke. I write a little bit about what we're seeing the successful companies do in the actual report. So you can go check out the report if you want to hear me blather on a little more about it.
I'm sure everyone listening to this wants to hear you blather on more. What do you got going on?
More blathering, basically.
More blathering
this week. Yeah. Blathering, putting more blather together for Content Marketing World. Really getting my, what together so that I'm ready to go. So I don't feel like I'm doing it at the last minute. And then meanwhile, keeping some clients happy as I do that. How about you?
Good. I apologized to my youngest yesterday for turning him into a Cleveland Guardians fan.
Oh dear.
Because we were both upset. Guardians lost as we record this. The Guardians lost yesterday. They have this the very large elimination game today in Detroit. So by the time people listen to this, you'll know what happens. But I just feel bad that because I have issues with my sports, and I have given that to my kid. And
well, you've had many decades to get used to that sadness, right? And you've you've passed
the sadness
on.
of a Cleveland sports fan is hard to match by hardly anywhere else. So, but anyways, looking on the bright side.
Hashtag fun times. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, on that happy note, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. And yes, until we see you again next week, and we will see you again next week, we'll have a regular episode of This Old Marketing. Just remember, it's your story to tell. Tell it well. See you next week on This Old Marketing. Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.